Hi friends, before we start this tutorial, please check out the link in the description. It will give you a massive discount for you, my viewers, of my newly launched bicycle maintenance video. You will learn how to maintain your bike. You will even learn how to build a simple bike. And now let's get busy.
And today we are assembling a complete Shimano 6100 group set, wheels included.
But first, I'm going to polish this frame. It was a used frame, so I'm gonna remove those stickers and clean the frame.
Did you know that Danny, your YouTuber, specializes in buying budget affordable bikes, especially used bikes, since 1993? Yeah, I know a lot about it, and if you watch my tutorials, you will know how to buy a used bicycle. This one was bought from the first owner. I know the history, it was a bummer.
By removing the stickers, I'll be able to see what's beneath them.
And why was it a bummer? It's because I found this bike on a website like a Craigslist here in Poland, and it turned out that the seller was actually my friend.
Just a couple of stickers left. That was the last one.
And you see, this is the feature of the bike stand I was telling you about in the comparison video. It's really handy to have some kind of system which allows you to turn the bike around quickly. It's very handy.
Removing the grease first. Now a little bit of alcohol. Shampoo.
If you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I love washing the bikes, cleaning, polishing, doing anything around the bikes. But having a clean frame right here is not only for the before and after effect, it's also for having clean places, clean areas where you put the bearings in. This is the head tube, this is the bottom bracket, but also the seat post tube. If you leave just a little of sand or some particles, it may be doing a lot of noise while riding.
The frame is clean and shiny, ready to get all these parts on. We're starting with the seat post. The seat post clamp. For the carbon bikes, I'm not using any grease even on the outside of the frame, which is the inside of the clamp. I'll just use the thread lock for the seat post bolt and the seat post clamp bolt. Here's the saddle. The seat post is clean, and I'm not using any grease on the seat post, of course. Just remember that the lip here goes like this. Carbon paste.
I bought a new Cannondale Synapse with the seat post clamp being put upside down. Horrible.
Just for now, very likely. It's time for the saddle. We've got the specialized Phenom here.
If you're looking for a saddle which was designed for comfort and it really works, you will probably find one in the range of specialized saddles.
Now we'll mount the bike by the seat post. I'm gonna leave the fork and the wheels, of course, till the very end so that I have more space around the bike now. Let's make the hanger. The thread lock. Let's put the derailleur on. Remember to put this part against the B screw like that.
That little part allows you to adjust the B gap, so the gap between the cassette and the guide pulley.
Like that. Now the crankset. The bike was equipped with the DUB PressFit 30 bottom bracket for this large spindle, but we need another for 24mm Shimano spindle, so I bought Token. Let's measure the bottom bracket shell. It's got 73mm of width, which tells us where we should put some spacers. 73mm shell, no spacer on the second, which is the left cap, and the first one, the right cap, will have 2mm spacer. Important, only apply pressure here and here.
But hola here. Before you assemble the bottom bracket bearings, you need to route the housing for the rear brake, rear hydraulic disc brake. Why? Because this is the inner cable routing, which I hate. Yes, I hate it. This is one of the bike features that were not designed by engineers for mechanics, but rather by marketing staff for the innocent clients, customers. I'm showing you now the rubber ends on the housing, which is actually made for routing it internally, but the port here in the chainstay is just too small, so you have to do it manually. Even if there was a larger hole there, this is really pain in the if you want to do it yourself. They have some systems probably to do it in the factory, but most of the bicycle shops will really be puzzled.
We must go all the way around. One of the worst ways to route the cables. It's almost impossible now to do it.
After some precious time of my life lost and a lot of cursing, I came up with an idea to have the zip tie really tight around this housing and to try to pull it or push it with it through that hole. That port is tight, so you need to force it through. You can see that it didn't quite work out for the first time, but after a couple of approaches, I was finally able to push it through. Oh.
The right side, drive side.
And just to remind you, I needed to buy a new bottom bracket so that it will not only fit to the frame, but it will fit also the crankset, its spindle, different spindle. According to the manual I showed you, I should have put here a 2mm spacer, but when it was there, I wasn't able to assemble the crankset actually, so I did not use it here. And that's even better for the chain line, because this is 1x12 drivetrain, and you know what I think about the chain line on these systems.
The left side, non-drive side. Looking good. Right, left. 12 to 14 Newton meters for these two bolts.
And that's the moment where some of my viewers say, Danny, once your torque wrench clicks, you should not be coming back to that bolt. And usually that's correct, but here we have two bolts, and when you tighten one bolt, the other one comes loose. This is why I do come back for the couple of times from one side to the other side.
Okay, now the suspension fork. The lower headset bearing has fallen apart, and this is its race full of rust just after the autumn and the winter 2020-2021. I'm going to put much better bearing right here. Ooh. Usually I don't put any grease just beneath the bearing race, but in this case there is a small gap between the bearing race and the crown of the fork, and the rust is getting in there. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease. Yep. And the lower bearing comes from Enduro bearings, because this is high quality and should withstand the problem with the water with this gap here. Now we need these parts. I'm gonna use the original bearing up here. Yeah.
I am only pre-assembling these bolts. I will tighten them when the bike is on the ground and I know that the handlebars are straight and there is no play in the headset. I also use carbon paste right here, even though all these parts are aluminum. I just want to make sure that I do use the right amount of torque here, and when you land badly from the cross-country drop during the race, you will not twist the handlebars. And I mean twisting the handlebars against the stem, not the stem against the steering tube, because that's actually a good thing during the crash.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm gonna stabilize the handlebars.
Keep the shifting cable clean. If you prefer to use some oil, it's not a bad thing to do. I do use oil. And also in this case, it was easier to route the shifting cable through the frame than the housing for the rear brake, but still far from being ideal.
Oof. Okay. Changing from SRAM to Shimano derailleur, we will always have to replace the last part of the housing, because SRAM has shorter and more straight one because of this additional pulley here.
I do think that the additional pulley for the shifting cable on SRAM rear derailleur is better than this system here on the Shimano. I also don't like the angle of the shifting cable approaching the mounting bolt on the Shimano rear mech.
How does this beauty work? Ooh, sweet. Yeah. Boom.
The whole cockpit will also be just pre-assembled here for a couple of reasons. You want to have the bike on the ground and you want to sit on the bike in order to adjust everything, the position of the levers, of your shifters, of the dropper post lever if you have one. You also want to keep your braking levers with the master cylinder in the horizontal position because you will probably need to add some oil after installing the housing. And make sure you know where the olives are, because on this brake, for example, you have one olive already inside the brake and another one, the spare one, in the box. If you take the spare one, put it on the housing and try to assemble the housing, you will actually squeeze two olives against each other.
Yeah!
That's the crucial moment. You see, I'm first checking, okay, the olive is in there, so I'm not putting another one on the housing. Now I can assemble it. $15 or 20mm axle. You will see I'm using the bottom bracket tool for tightening the disc brake rotor. It will be different on the rear wheel.
The rear wheel, 160.
Yes, there's a smaller disc brake rotor than in the front, as usual, but see, this nut here is different than in the front wheel. This is the 12mm axle, and I'm using a cassette tool.
Microspline. And here we have to be very careful with the 12-speed Shimano cassettes to put the last one in the right place and not move it while securing it.
And this is a big discovery for me. Until now, I've been using the Stance No Tube tubeless system because it's been just the best from all of the systems I've tried. But this is the Milk It. This is really smart thing. You don't need a compressor now, and putting the sealant into the tire is easy.
My Deore wheels do come with the valves, but I'm gonna replace them with the Milk It system. These valves are super smart because even after removing the valve cores, we don't lose the air pressure from the tire because here we have additional valve.
Making the tubeless system on my rear wheel for the first time, I left this spacer you can see here under the nut, the original nut of the Milk It valve. That made the valve too short, and you will see that I couldn't actually get the air from my little tiny compressor out. And if you want to avoid any frustration when using this system for the first time, you just need to know what length of the valve you need for your rims, and that it's best not to put any spacers under the nut. It says all about it in the instruction. You see, it doesn't release the air because of that additional spacer. The valve is just too short. Now I'm removing the spacer, putting the original nut, and see what happens.
Ready? Woo! Ha!
And this syringe will allow you not only to put the sealant into the wheel without losing the air, but also to check the level of the sealant left, which is great.
Pretty good. Now look at this. 140 psi. My sealant is ready. Ha ha ha! Oh yeah! Fastening the valve core. Okie dokie.
This is great. It's time to put the wheels on the bike because I need to install the chain. I told you about this bike stand. It has only 2 legs. It's very light. I'm putting both wheels now. Otherwise, the bike stand with the bike could fall down. I am putting the XTR chain on the bike because I borrowed the Deore chain for some of my previous projects. I think it was for the Wobus, the super light hardtail. So this one will come with the XTR.
Check this out. We've got this.
Putting the bike on the floor and assembling the cockpit, installing, adjusting everything, making sure there is no play in the front wheel, actually in the headset. Now I'm using the torque wrench to tighten all the bolts and we are ready for weighing in.
Okie dokie. Not bad, not bad. 1078, 23.78 pounds.
But today I'm not gonna ride it. Not yet. Thanks for watching, subscribe and see you in the next one.